Good morning, YouTube family. Martinez Country Home here. Today is June the 14th, 2021, Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a pretty productive weekend. Got a lot done. My house, a lot of yard work done. So I got a couple of things I wanted to talk about today. I spoke to a very good friend of mine from Idaho, and she lives out there like in the Boise area, and she had called me this weekend telling me about a discussion she had with one of her friends, and I believe her friend, they're kind of like ranchers. They have a lot of head of cattle, and so basically she was telling me that up there in Idaho they're having problems with feeding their cattle, and usually what they feed them is hay bales. They buy hay bales, and there was a shortage of hay bales, and not only a shortage, but the price was very high, and so it turns out that the reason that they're having a shortage is because China is buying up tons and tons of these hay bales, and so they're having problems, feeding all their head of cattle, and a lot of the ranchers up there are having to sell off all their herds. They're basically culling them, and so this was I believe she had told me this on maybe Friday. I think it was Friday, and then Alaska Prepper came out with a video talking about how ranchers up there, like in Nevada, New Mexico, in those states, that they were having to cull their herds, their cattle, because they couldn't feed them, or they couldn't find enough feed to feed their herds, and so it's happening, guys. All these shortages and all these issues that I see on the and really I only see them on the alternative media. First of all, basically all these things about the food chain breaking down, and animals being killed and culled because of one reason or another. You don't really hear that a lot on mainstream media. Alternative media, that's where you're gonna hear it for the most part. But when you start hearing it word of mouth, like from somebody that's been there or somebody that's actually going through it, I like to pay attention, and I like to share that news. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna leave the link to that video from Alaska Prepper. I'm gonna leave it in the description, and so y'all can check it out, and so y'all know that there is something going on with our food supply. It's being affected. In this case, China's buying up a lot of the hay, and driving up the price. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that's been it's been on my mind. It's been on it's been in a lot of these podcasts and a lot of these prepper channels that they've been talking about is communism, and what do you call it? It's something that's right in front of our face. And I saw another podcast yesterday from Liberty and Finance. Excuse me, guys. This guy looks like he's at a funeral procession. So there was I made a couple of videos the past week talking about communism and how the Chinese have infiltrated America and along those lines. But if you look back at the history of the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union well, before it was Soviet Union, when it was Russia, and the Bolsheviks took over the czars and killed off that family. Well, the Bolsheviks were financed by the bankers, guys. I'm not sure if y'all know this. They were financed by the bankers, by the Rockefellers and other groups, other very rich men, and they started that revolution. They financed it. So you know, it if you look at the parallels of what was happening in that time in Russia, even in China, like we've talked about before, with the Cultural Revolution and color revolutions and things of that nature, and you compare it to, like, here in America with this ridiculous critical race theory and this and that. The powers that be, you know, the bankers, it looks like the same people, the same groups, keeping the world in chaos. And if you think about it, guys, we've been talking about a financial collapse for many years, and it seems like, you know, it's imminent. There's no way that it could keep on going, and that there has to be some end to what's going on. But it just seems like they drag it out. That's why I always say this collapse, or this shit hit the fan scenario, it's not gonna happen until they say it's gonna happen. I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like they're making the rules up as they go. It's their system, so there's nothing gonna happen. There's nothing gonna collapse until they say it's ready to collapse. So all I do know is that we're living in bondage, and this communist system that they're trying to put over us, you know, that's bondage. And it's always been the history of the world. You know, it's been the ruling class, some ruling class or another, subjugating the people and extracting our energy for themselves. So another thing that's in the news, or, you know, being talked about, is the rise of the housing market. Prices are very high, and I've heard Gregory Mannarino talk about this for the longest. He was the first one that really was giving the reason for it. But, you know, you have the central bank, the Federal Reserve, buying up mortgage-backed. They don't really call them mortgage-backed securities. They call them actually, I think that's what they are: mortgage debt mortgage debt obligations, collateral debt obligations, and stuff like that. But basically, they're buying up houses, guys. They're buying up billions of dollars of houses. BlackRock, which is basically the management, I guess, they manage all the assets. They've been buying up houses, hedge funds. So, you know, why is this wrong? Well, it's wrong because these institutions are basically get money for free. The Federal Reserve hands out loans, and they get to buy up properties and with free money, you know, and then they get to flip them and make a profit, or rent them out, which is what they're gonna do, is rent them out. So that's wrong. It's immoral. How come why do they basically, like the way I explain to my kids, you know, when I try to give them the example of what the Federal Reserve is doing and what is the scam, and I always tell them, imagine if you had on your computer, you could put money into your bank account just whenever you feel like it. You get to basically just put how much money you want in your bank account, and so you can buy up anything you want. You know, basically, you buy up power to you get to the point where you don't need the money anymore. You just have so much power, and in a nutshell, that's what the central banks have been doing. These big corporations and hedge funds and stuff like that. So they're buying up the houses, and the market reacts by, well, there's demand, but it's not real. It's not real demand, guys. It's not real demand at all. It's artificial. It's the same thing that they've been doing. It's almost the same thing they've been doing with the gold and the silver. The physical price of gold and silver. It's not because it's suppressed. They go by how many paper contracts they sell on the COMEX, and it's not even backed by real physical precious metals. So same thing here. They're driving up demand by buying up houses and stuff, and really they're not really real. You know what I'm saying? They're creating artificial demand, and so these houses are going up in price, and it's going to be harder for people to buy a house. Actually, it's getting to the point where these big corporations and all that, they're just basically going to become renters. Sort of like the apartment industry. You can't own an apartment. You rent from the apartment, from the apartment complex, or whatever the owners of each apartment. You know what I'm saying? Apartment complex. Same thing is going to become. It's looking like there's going to be a lot more renters than people that actually own their homes. And I would put air quotes on that, own the home, because you'll always be paying property taxes to these sellout politicians in the county. They're like little kings. They have little kingdoms, and they exploit the people. I'm not trying to rag on people that work for the city or the county, but that's why they raise property taxes and all that, because they gotta justify. They have to pay for all the damn employees that they have. It's just a big old scam. And so anyway, what's gonna happen is either there's not gonna be properties to buy, when you want to buy a house or whatever, or the property taxes are gonna just be too high, and you're not gonna be able to afford it just because of the property taxes. So I don't know, but these are all signs, guys, of this communism, this new version of communism. That's what it is. It's technocratic in nature. It has a technology behind it, but the more concerning thing is that the masses are going along with it. They don't even speak out. They're fine with the government supporting them, and that's the way they want it. They don't mind. And they don't see the bigger picture. They're sentencing their children and their grandchildren into a life of slavery. And if people are not awake by now, they're never gonna wake up. Or even if they do, most people are like, well, what can I do? There's nothing I can do about it. That's the way it is, and well, you can't force them into action. They might know about it, but it's like they don't want to commit to some kind of action that'll change their situation. They just go along with it, and some people love their masters. Some people are all for the system. They love it. Let's go, buddy. So now here in Texas, again, I'll say it again, I'm not seeing it like that. Yet, like inflation, I do see prices going up on some things. Wow, what are these guys doing? But I'm not seeing it like. Come on, dude. But like I said before, I think some states are just better than others. I mean, their economies are better off than others. If we were going by generally accepted accounting principles, the rules, we wouldn't have an economy, guys. But it's manipulated, and it's tweaked. They change the rules, so who knows how long this can go. But like I said before, here in Texas, we have here in San Antonio, just in San Antonio, we have 5 military bases, and from, I think, out of those 5, 3 are like what they call their joint base. They're basically private owned and government owned. And you have the military industrial complex here. We have a lot of defense contractors here. We have NSA. The NSA. We have the Texas. Basically, the CDC, the state version of the CDC here. The Texas Center for Disease Control. And we have all these big institutions that are funded by the government, that are basically run by the government. And so the economy here is relatively good compared to other parts of the country, but still, again, we all use the dollar, the US dollar, and the US dollar is what's, if there's a credit freeze or there's a dollar collapse or something of that nature, it's going to happen everywhere, no matter where you are. So that's why I always tell people to prepare. I keep telling them, prepare and don't stop, because what you're trying to do right now, what you want to do is you want to buy everything you can with the dollar that you have in your hand, because as time goes on, those dollars are not going to be able to buy as much as they did today. You know what I'm saying? It's even hard to save money, to put money away, to put cash money away, because as it's sitting there, it's losing value by the day. So my philosophy is, have some cash. It's good to have some cash on hand, but buy the things that you need. You're gonna need. You gotta think ahead, guys, because in the coming months, the coming years, whatever, you're not gonna be able to buy as much as what you're buying today. The nominal value of what you get, like from work or whatever, it'll be the same. It might even go higher, but it's not keeping up with the inflation of the things that you have to pay just to live, just to be able to survive. Food, water, a roof over your head, the basic necessities of life, hygiene, clothes. I understand living frugally and all that, but this country, in this nation, we have so many resources that we shouldn't have to live like that just day to day. But too many people went along with the system. Too many people, too many order followers. And the people that went along with it, or that are going along with it, they'll get mad because they see the truth. They finally see the truth of what's happening, but they'll be mad at you because you're right, and they'll lash out, or they'll come out with ad hominem attacks and want to insult you, or just because they know that they were wrong and you were right, and they don't want to admit it, or that pisses them off. So all we can do is just keep on preparing, Keep God in your heart. Keep Jesus in your heart. Be charitable, because keep your humanity. Because you're gonna reap. We all reap what we sow, guys. All of us. Some people call it karma, you know, but you reap what you sow. And too many people out there that, you know, they're not gonna be ready, or honestly, some people live in such poverty that to them they're not even gonna notice a difference. But they're stuck there because they are in poverty, guys. They just don't have the energy. They're worried. They have so many things already on their mind, just trying to survive. You know, that's all they can do is survive. But anyway, guys, I'll leave a link below. I'll also leave another link for I'll leave a link below for the cattle that are being culled because of the feed shortage. And also I'm going to leave a link for Liberty and Finance, where they talk about I forgot the guest's name, but he has a very good interview on how communism happened in Russia and how it's happening here, being pushed by the bankers. Because the bankers, they bankroll everything, guys. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, guys, hope you have a great Monday. Hope you have a great day. Take care of each other and love each other out there, because that's what we're here for. God bless.